Hours of Web 3.0 presented by Tezos Indian Association with the Blockchain School. Woo! Thank you. All right. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Saurabh here on stage from the Blockchain School. Saurabh. This is regarding the launch of Tezos course on the Blockchain School platform.
Guys, energy. I need energy. Thank you so much. So something that you're gonna see on the screen is my creation as an instructor, but a lot of effort has been gone by my team. So you'll see folks from wearing Marvel t-shirts are folks representing Blockchain School. We're a small team, created something really cool for Tezos. The challenge was getting started, the beginner education. So we're kind enough, Tezos team was kind enough to give us the opportunity to just get started with this initiative. So how's the event going, by the way, so far? Are you all excited? Can you give a cheer? Whew, nice. I think the question has been already asked. How many of you are already from Web3? How many are actually involved in the NFT scene? Can you raise your hands? Okay, nice. How many of you are following DAOs? Okay, building them. Great stuff. How many is closely following Tezos ecosystem? Please, nice. So I think that's the initiative all about, right? So we created like a simplified sort of a curriculum to just get started with. Yeah. So Samrat, on the 3, 2, 1, can we play the trailer? Volume. These technical glitches.
It became one of the biggest projects. In the July of 2017, the Tezos Foundation raised about $232 million in a fundraiser. It became one of the biggest projects of that year's crypto boom. Billionaire investor Tim Draper also participated in that fundraiser. We all are aware about blockchain networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum, but there's another dominant player in this industry. I'm talking about Tezos. But what exactly is Tezos and why should you learn more about it? Tezos is one of its kind self-amending and sustainable blockchain network. But to help you understand Tezos in depth, we are coming up with another unique Edge series. In this series of 10 interactive lessons, we'll go from absolute basic of what Tezos is, how it works, its potential, use case, and so much more, explained in the easiest way. So, let's get started and learn more about Tezos with the Blockchain School.
That was our creation. So, thank you. Yeah. So, just to give you a little bit of glimpse about Blockchain School and also what this course is all about, can you just open the dashboard, please? So, we have the winter kind of a theme. Can you enroll there? So, this is going to go live tomorrow. It's absolutely free. It's been covered by Tezos India. So, you can definitely go and jump into it. So we have a couple of lessons starting from basics of blockchain, because obviously getting started towards introduction to Tezos. I think I'll quickly go through the titles. Then Tezos design and how it works, POS chains, economics, smart contracts. We have Tezos fundamentals breakdown as well, baking and delegating in Tezos, governance, smart contracts. We've covered a case study as well, because I think learning is all fine, but how can we actually understand a real-world application that's built on Tezos? And then there's a quick course roundup. So this is it. But what's coming next? We are collaborating with a lot of institutes, communities across India. We want to execute cohort-based learning for Tezos, building on Tezos. Apart from that, we just planned out our first physical event, so you can assume more meetups and events coming forward. We're collaborating with DAOs, we're collaborating with a lot of communities. So what do we need is obviously support in terms of you getting educated and you coming up and building in this space. So once again, welcome to Web3 and welcome to Marvels of Web3. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh. Without further ado, we'll have next panel, second panel for the discussion here. The topic is blockchain, a multi-chain future or one chain to rule them all. I will welcome Abhitej Singh, who is strategy and community lead at Persistence. Abhitej, Mohak Agarwal, founder and CEO at Claystack. Next is Sandeep Sangli, co-founder at Kalamint. Apoorv Shankar, CTO at Getsafle. So again, like the last panel, we have 35 minutes for Q&A, and then we'll hand mic to audience for 5 minutes of Q&A from the audience. Okay, so we've got a lot of questions here, but we'll start with a quick round of introduction from you guys.
Hello everyone, I'm Abhitej. I take care of strategy and community at Persistence. I've been part of the Persistence team from day zero. Have been in the space for 3 years and building across like community and being very focused on the product side as Persistence team is. So as Persistence, what we are trying to do is create exposure to multiple asset classes, including liquid staking that comes with POS assets, NFTs, synthetics, and even like in past we have worked with real world assets, tokenizing them. So now we are Cosmos based chain, so we are interoperability maximalists. So I think so that's why this panel makes a lot of sense for us.
Hi, I'm the founder of Claystack, Mohak. We are solving one of the most important problem in staking, that is liquid staking, or the illiquidity in staking. So the Claystack is a decentralized liquid staking protocol by which you can earn staking yields, but at the same time participate in DeFi.
Hi everyone, I'm Apoorv Shankar, I'm CTO at Safel. So at Safel, what we have built is a non-custodial wallet, which is multi-chain in nature. So we are governed by a DAO, and we just did our IDO on 16th, 2 days ago. And about Safel, we are focused on user experience more than anything else, and security. So that is what makes Safel different from every other wallet which is out there. Thanks.
Hey, Sandeep here from Kalamint, and as you see, all of them are already working on many chains and interoperability. But the difference with us is that we are on Tezos only right now, and I'll probably be able to give some insights on why you should not be on just one chain. So that's what I'll probably speak about today. But our second product, reference protocol, is a multi-chain product. It's an indexer for NFT data. So I can give some insights from that side as well.
Thank you so much. I think we have a lot of questions, so I'll just delve into the first question. It says 2021 saw a lot of new blockchains and layer 2 solutions getting wider adoption in the crypto community. What were some of the major drivers behind it? So I still regret not putting my money in Avix or Matic. Right. So what do you think that has driven that?
I think so. When the proposition of blockchain started, it was with idea of like certain, like all blockchains are going to serve on the same purpose. Like Ethereum is going to be like this base layer, like everything is going to be built on Ethereum. But as Ethereum progressed, you saw there are some blockers, there are some limitations that Ethereum itself had, and then we had layer 2s, we had specific chains that like Cosmos that gave an opportunity to people to create like sovereign chains. So why we saw these many different chains spin up is that each chain is going to be providing its own proposition. So if you look at you're building gaming, probably Solana would be the best chain because it's fastest. It gives you an option. But if you're looking for chance to have like a very sovereign identity or have your own economics, have your own like operate in a very independent manner, you would probably go to Cosmos, use an app chain model. If you're building you want to build a very secure solution where transaction speed does not matter too much or gas fees does not matter too much, you would probably opt for Ethereum, right? And so similarly, and you're building NFT solution where the transaction has to be very fast. You have to work with even like a base security layer like Ethereum. You'll probably build on Polygon. So what we have seen is as the use cases are growing, what you're seeing is each chain is coming with their each proposition, and that's like replicating the internet era where every website was either like back in 2000, early 2000s was only about like giving information. And so you would just book like a cab, that was it you would do on a website. But as different websites came across, as like each website now serves a simple, like one purpose. You don't go to just one website on internet and say this is it. And this website is going to rule them all. Like even if a website is an aggregator, and that's where we've seen aggregators failing. And I think so that people, if you really want to understand at a very layman level, why now people are going to buy to Etsy and then Amazon, because Etsy provides this very customized gifts that people need. So it's a very proposition-based e-commerce website, rather than people going on Amazon where you have all these like multiple products. You go to Etsy because it's just gift-focused website. And similarly, why would people use certain payment gateways over other payment gateways? Because it provides one solution over other. So if I'm doing a national transaction, I would do Paytm. But if I'm doing an international transaction, I would do PayPal. It's not I would just use only PayPal or just Paytm. So similarly is with blockchains.
Yeah, I think two of the primary factors which drove the growth of or launch of multiple L1s or L2s, one, the market. In 2019, even Ethereum did not have much demand, in the sense that the gas price was like 1 or 2 GWI. No one was using it. In 2020, when whole DeFi era started, then was the actual time that people thought that, oh, okay, there is a throughput problem, that we need something which is faster, which can accommodate much more transactions. Then when this started, then people like, we need more security. That led to kind of the launch of a couple of L2s. So I think DeFi and the market dynamics played a very, very important role. People understanding that now, like for example, one of the things that DeFi gave was access. Doesn't matter if you're in India, US, or wherever, you're able to access these complex financial products, which were like impossible before. So getting exposure to that, lot more people came in, and then which led to kind of emerge of a couple of new L1s as well as L2s.
I think that's a very nice answer. I myself feel really free to be accountable for my own money, right, rather than giving it to banks. So thanks, Mohak, for that. Apoorv?
Yeah. So let's not talk about 2020. Let's go back to 2017 when CryptoKitties came into picture. Okay, and that time there was a huge congestion on the Ethereum network. Transactions were not going through, and the gas fees went very high. I think that is when the idea of L2s came into picture. People started taking L2s seriously. And in 2020, that came back to manifestation, that L2s started coming into picture. Or, I mean, with Matic, like we started seeing some adoption of dApps onto L2s. L2s were existing with dApps onto it. And with the entire boom of DeFi, which came last year, and people actually making a lot of transactions on AMMs, like Uniswap, Dexes, it just gave people a lot of access to a lot of financial products, as Mohak said. But the gas fees was really high. And the only way to, for people who were making transactions which were not that incentivized on the financial perspective, from like for example, they want to swap $2 of Matic to something, and the gas fee is $40 on Ethereum. That doesn't make any sense. So I think a lot of transactions which are happening on DEXs, that gave us a scope for L2s to grow more. And then these DEXs, these dApps, DeFi dApps, migrating to L2s, that also pushed the entire thing, and now we see a lot of DEXs and dApps on L2s, and a huge TVL even on that. So I think that is it.
Yeah, I think between the three of them, they've covered most of it. So I think it is actually a byproduct. It's like a cause and effect, right? We saw a lot of utility coming in for when it comes to DeFi, NFTs. People were starting to make real money on the blockchain, right? So it was essentially people using the blockchain for real needs. For example, DeFi is one of them, NFTs, we have artists who are living off of their sales, right? So we see that, and now we see Ethereum, right? So the activity started going up because there is utility. And obviously because the activity is going up, the gas prices go up, right? And as a byproduct, people started looking at, so for example, if you're going to sell your NFT for 1 Ether, and your gas fees is like $80 or $90, right? Or sometimes it's even $200.
160, 180.
Yeah, right? So your essentially what you're making in terms of ROI is very less, right? As compared to something on a Tezos or a Polygon marketplace, the gas fee that you pay, your ROI typically becomes way better for the same money, right? That you're going to make on the sale of the NFT. So same with DeFi or any product, right? For example, if you want to, liquidate some of your yield, there is a certain amount of money that you're paying which is over and above what you're, that makes sense or not on this chain or that chain. So then the good thing is that we had L2s or other chains that could support the growth at that point in time, right? For example, you had Tezos where there was a big community of creators, so NFTs took off on that. Polygon, you had a DeFi boom, right? So there are a bunch of use cases for which those chains kind of became the second home because it was needed at that point in time. So I think the utility drew the growth, and then because of that growth, we started seeing people spilling over to other chains as well, and then the growth of those chains.
Yeah, I think totally understandable. Unless you find the need, you won't probably do it just for the trading purpose. Then you have like a lot of shitcoins to do that, right? So just I'll move on to the next question because most of you have shared the similar views. So just wanted to check that we saw many blockchain taking the EVM compatibility, right, route to get eyeballs and developer adoption. Is EVM compatibility the right way towards multi-chain? Because Ethereum has a lot of use cases. Sandeep, you can start.
Yeah, so I think it is, to a certain extent, I think in this day and age, I think it's the best possible route for multi-chain, right, future. Simply because, there are a bunch of things that you would want to move across chains as assets, right? You could, you could mint on a chain and then sell on another chain, right? Because gas fees are lesser. But then you have a better, on-chain metadata on one, right? The same goes with DeFi, right? So there are a bunch of things that you can do much better on one chain or on one platform on one chain, but the rest of it you could possibly do on another platform and another chain. So the use cases itself, within a product, the feature set can be on different chains is what we will be progressing into. So that's what I read, right, from what I see. And then EVM compatibility is probably the easiest or the fastest route, but I don't think we are still there yet with decentralized bridges between these chains as well. So that's a concerning thing. But still, I think it's still a good proposition to, for least friction, that's possibly the best route. But as we, go along with all of the bridges coming along between different L1s and L1 and L2, we'll see a lot more activity around it.
Because you feel that there are a lot of use cases on Ethereum already, like, lending, borrowing platforms and all. And if companies like Amazon, they want to just, add crypto to their usability, like, feature, then Ethereum would be the one.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think liquidity is a huge, factor when it comes to where you start off and where you would branch into as well. So if there is no cross movement of liquidity, that's a big concern.
Mohak, your views?
Yeah, I don't think that EVM is the only way to kind of go forward because we're not in 2020 anymore. Now, even on the liquidity side, we see that there's so much liquidity on Solana, Terra, and when Polkadot is going to kind of launch the parachains. So, of course, it's easier because having MetaMask access to kind of all the EVM chains with one wallet. But now, if you see the adoption, the 1 million daily active users per Phantom wallet, same with another kind of Solana wallet, and then Substrate is growing. So, yeah, I don't think that EVM is the only kind of savior in the future.
Yeah, thank you for your views.
I agree with Mohak. I think so. I strongly disagree with this fact that EVM is the only approach. It's the easiest approach, I would say, because you have so much users on Ethereum because first mover advantage, there was network effect, and then there are so many limitations currently. So moving down all those users to a EVM becomes like an easy approach. But whereas what we have not seen is multiple use cases that are not even taken birth yet. Are now spinning up on chains like Tezos or Cosmos or Polkadot, and that's where like real innovation is happening. So it's not replicating. Like if you look at, except few EVMs, everyone has just like copy pasta of like same dexes on either EVMs, and so it's like Uniswap is on that chain, or SushiSwap is on that chain, or Aave is on that chain. Whereas if you look at other chains like Terra, you take an example of Cosmos in general, I would say there's so much innovation that is happening in each of these chains, and how they are creating use cases. Same as with Polkadot, like each chain is bringing like different sorts of perspective of like what can be done. And that's where like we are moving forward. And multi-chain is beyond just saying liquidity, beyond just saying users. Multi-chain is how do you make the experience for the end user so agnostic that they don't even need to know which chain they're operating at. That's where I think so is multi-chain. But we often confuse it between liquidity and saying, okay, where we have more users, or where we are going to have like, where we are going to do the most copy pasta, or like where most projects are going to move. And so I think so we have to move to the different narrative of where like people don't need to know that they are operating on which chain.
Wow.
I want to add something from a developer perspective. So when a chain is EVM compatible, it's really easy for any developer to build onto that chain, and that creates the initial adoption. So for example, for Polygon or BSC, that is the thing which a developer can do, right? Just transform something which was existing on Ethereum in like a night, and have some TVL locked in billions, right? So that is something which drives EVM compatibility, but obviously that also stops innovation, right? That things won't innovate if we just keep on taking that route. So I totally agree with Abhitej, what he said, yeah.
I think tooling is very important. So as long as there is tooling, there will be adoption for that particular chain.
Okay, so my question to you all is that if future is one chain, just assumption, right? What would it be? Would it be Tezos? Maybe Apoorv?
For me, it's Ethereum.
Okay. Sandeep?
Well, I don't have an opinion there because I don't think the future is going to be that. So, yeah, because.
But still, just assuming. Should say Tezos, right?
It's also Tezos, yeah.
We have a lot of developers who haven't adopted any chain yet, so you can say Tezos, right? Tezos, guys, Tezos is gonna be the future. Mohak, what do you think?
I think you have answered the question.
I wouldn't, probably even say this.
More like
say this, I would say I would backtrack from my fundamentals of being interoperability maximalist. If even I say it, even in like assumption of saying there would be one chain.
Okay, thank you so much. So another trend is that we're seeing many blockchains finding their niche now, right? For example, Tezos and Flow in NFTs, right? Avalanche in DeFi, etc. Do you think that results are already in, and this is how the chains are going to evolve in the niche? I think you pretty much answered that in the first question, but still, do you think that's how the future would look like?
I think so. It's yes and no, because I would say we are very early stage, so niches sort of give this early adoption, as said, and you could build tooling around a specific use case. And that's like some chains have seen that with NFTs. Now their NFT tooling is much sophisticated than other chains. And similarly, some have DeFi. But what happens is there's this phase of evolution. Once we have NFTs that are now interacting with DeFi, you would want to probably, if you really want to stay in the game, you want to build like capabilities with DeFi as well. So it's like why we created blockchain in the first place, we have to understand is creating this very interconnected ecosystem of different products, which are basically everything is financialized. Your time is financialized, your collectibles are financialized, your assets are financialized. So what we are moving towards is an hyper financialization era. And in this, what you're going to see is all different products interact with each other. What the cycle we are going to see is what you said. First, every chain is going to find their niche and then eventually evolve into saying, okay, what is the next use case we build on top of it? So I think so Aave is already into like heavy into saying we need to bring DeFi for NFTs, right? So you're gonna see Aave evolve as like one of the biggest aggregator of DeFi to say now they're also providing NFTs into it. They've already started doing that with Centrifuge, with real world asset marketplace, right? Bringing real world assets as NFTs and interacting those with DeFi. So that's what going to be like the, I would say 10 years horizon. You would see multiple chains that have done best job in creating like a niche, and then structure from there would be like Amazon. Like Amazon did not start like right away and become this whole ecosystem. They started with one service. They saw there could be another service on top of it, another service, another service. Today Amazon is in every industry. Same is going to be with chains.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, so we have been hearing this for a long time that like in one dApp itself, you'll use multiple chains for different use cases. But thing is, right now, the bridge infrastructure is not there. Right now, the bridge can only, like, majority of the bridges are like burn and mint mechanism, where you can transfer the assets, but in terms of the information transfer across the chain, it's not there yet. So in order to actually kind of maximize the niche of every chain that, okay, this chain is used for, let's say, identity or whatever, the bridge infra needs to be kind of evolve a lot. There have been multiple kind of players trying to kind of solve this layer 0, D-bridge, but yeah, we are yet to see kind of how that actually evolves.
But I think then you have not heard about IBC.
Yeah. So regarding this, what I think that every chain is driven by a community and a team, right? And how exactly they drive it, that creates the initial thing that what exactly starts coming out of the chain. So BSC, I mean, we see a lot of meme tokens, right? So that is where BSC went on to. Then Polygon went on to the DeFi side, Avalanche went to the DeFi side. So I think it depends on the community and also the tooling infrastructure which is provided with it. So what kind of developer it attracts, what kind of communities it attracts. So Tezos, I think it's doing a great job with NFTs. So yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think again, it's like a cause and effect thing, right? So essentially, wherever there were communities, that particular community built or used certain infrastructure. So the chains kind of focused more on that because they were getting tractions. You see, actually in the last 1 year, everybody is posting contract calls per month growth, right? Every chain. So I think that kind of shows that they're trying to focus on, okay, let's maximize what we have right now. And tooling was built around that. They pushed other projects to come adopt in the same construct, right, of what was working on that chain, because the community was there, builders were there, tooling was getting done very quickly. So I think that was one of the reasons why we saw niches. But yeah, I agree with Mohak on the bridge infrastructure is still not there. So like he was saying, burn mint, moving of metadata is a big problem right now, right? So essentially, how are we going to handle messaging across chains is going to be, very important moving forward, because we have centralized bridges still don't handling metadata as well. So
Yeah, I think this brings me to the next question. Very well sorted. So security is a big issue when we talk about multi-chain future. What are your thoughts about it, and how do you handle security in your own projects?
Being a wallet, I think I should go first on security. So I think security is very important, and while talking about bridges, bridging assets between multiple chains, and the way it is being done right now, that there are not a lot of tools provided to do that. And I was trying to bridge some assets like 2 days ago. It took me 35 minutes to just bridge some USDT from one chain to another. I won't name the chains. So that is one thing. So now from security perspective, I think at Safel what we do, we are a non-custodial wallet. So the key security is not managed by by Safel, but yes, the entire key infrastructure is managed in a way that it has 6 layers of encryption by something called the Safel Vault. So that is being done. And from a developer perspective, from a code regulations perspective, we follow strict coding guidelines in the companies that there are internal audits as well as external audits of the entire code. And its entire thing is open source. So that just creates the right security infrastructure for us, and exactly how it works for safety.
Yeah, in terms of kind of general security, as Apoorv highlighted, kind of getting your contracts audited, having bug bounty, following the strict coding security guidelines. But more than that, when kind of the smart contracts are not supposed to be kind of used as complex databases, right? It's the lightweight layer. So when you're going multi-chain, the easiest way or the best way to kind of not have so many attack vectors is isolate chains. In terms of example, if you see Aave, or majority of the apps, they're not sharing their order books across the chains, right? It's isolated to that chain where you don't need to do so often interchain communication, only probably during settlement or whenever kind of it's required. So I would say like isolating chains across, like within the same dApp is the best way.
Thank you, Mohak.
Yeah, I think so. One more explained this approach. It's been working well for DeFi protocols that are operating on multiple chains. But from where we come, right, roots of Cosmos, I don't think so this is a problem. We have that's where I think so a lot of people have not heard about IBC, inter-blockchain communication, where you're actually not doing minting burning. You're actually moving real assets from one chain to another chain. And it's a decentralized bridge. No one is controlling that bridge. And so issues of a centralized partner being involved or it being hacked is not a concern. The other thing is it's very seamless, right? I heard Gregory Oss talk about this in a paradigm panel where he was saying once he tried IBC, he forgot about the concept of it being the friction of using bridges. If you today use osmosis, one, it's a decentralized exchange, so using decentralized. And then if I have to today transfer XPRT tokens from XPRT chain to osmosis chain, it takes a minute, even less than a minute, or it's like a few seconds. And the gas fees is zero actually for XPRT and osmosis. The experience is seamless. I know if ever my funds are getting trapped, they're going to come back because there's no central partner. It's being monitored by a relayer, so it's not getting hacked or it's not getting, and you have a timeout period. So it's a timeout that you know it's going to come back. The other thing is, now what we have thought so far in terms of multi-chain world is only DeFi to DeFi. So that's like fungible tokens to fungible tokens only, non-fungible tokens to non-fungible tokens. Even if you look at non-fungible tokens, there is not cross-chain compatibility. And I think so there is asset mantle team that is sitting in the audience that you should meet. We're talking about transferring, creating this interchain NFT world where NFTs from different chain can reside on one chain and basically not reside on multiple chains but can be interacted on one chain. And that's the future we are looking at, and that's what IBC has proven. What we need to think is move beyond just one function that we chose, a one layer, one we choose to be, say this is the role model, and we are not there where the chain maximalism lies, I think. So everyone is trying to replicate what is on Ethereum, but Vitalik recently published in his latest forum post where okay, what Cosmos has done with interchain is probably what we aspire to be, as a broader context. So you see this from visionaries when they see as somebody is doing well, they adopt it, but at project level we get too associated to one chain and say, okay, bridges, only this is the approach of how a bridge should work. And that's where I think so we have to change security modules, we have to adopt from other chains, right? And that's where openness of, and I know I'm extending this answer, but I think so as a project owner or as a protocol builder, as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, what we really need to do is work collectively to think, okay, what one security module should be opted from one chain? What sort of one mechanism we need to pick from one chain? And then say, bring those together. But what we try to do as project, and I'm not saying I'm guilty of it myself, is saying, associating us to one brand and say, okay, I cannot move away from this. And everybody who is trying to do something different from this is attacking my approach. So I need to come as a defensive. So what we have done is, though blockchain is driven community, it's a community-driven approach, but we are making communities the fragmental part of saying the evolution will slow down. Whereas we need to work collectively and say, okay, if I can connect to Cosmos today, I should, right? And this is what I approach. And that's what we are doing at Persistence is to be part of persistence ecosystem, you build in any chain. And what we need to do is work collectively to build a use case that is cross chains. So building on Ethereum. Now, persistence is building on Ethereum, persistence building in Cosmos, and in Cosmos on persistence chain, on Terra, on Osmosis, now multiple chains. The objective is not, we need 100 apps on persistence chain. Our objective is we need 100 use cases that associate or give opportunity to persistence users to interact with use cases.
Wow. Existing and growing together. Yeah. Sandeep?
Yeah, I mean, they've got it all covered pretty much. There's nothing much to add really, except that, we still do have a lot of problems when it comes to moving metadata, which we were talking about. I mean, if IVC is doing that, that's a great thumbs up, yeah, right? I mean, other chains should learn from that. I mean, for example, you don't have simple things like there's no light client on certain chains to even run a relayer right now, right? So that's a massive problem, right? So we're still way far away from actually going fully decentralized bridges. So we still have to deal with centralized bridges and some hacks till these problems gets fixed.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons that we don't do Tezos-centric events. We invite everybody else. Okay. So, this one is my favorite. What advice would you give to a dApp developer or entrepreneur who wants to choose which blockchain to build his project on? Apoorv?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's no one blockchain I would suggest to start building on. It's just that looking at the use case, exactly what they want to cater to. And that would drive exactly what blockchain should they build on. I mean, for example, at Safel, the first thing we built was Safel ID, and we chose Ethereum as an option for that. And now we are on Polygon and Tezos both. So you can start from somewhere and then go beyond it. But yes, the use case matters most.
Makes sense. And the right resources.
Yes, and the right tooling infrastructure. So if somebody is choosing a blockchain which doesn't have that right tooling infrastructure, so it becomes really difficult for the developers to start building and to close the entire cycle, and then they end up 6 months later just looking for the resources and juggling for it. So that is one thing which I think.
Right. We often define it as like chicken and egg problem in Tezos.
Totally.
We don't have Stack Overflow here, guys. So sorry. Mohak?
So I would kind of answer the same this question in the way like I would say to even a Web2 developer. A lot of times people make this mistake that they see cool technologies. For example, if let's say your competitors are building on let's say Flutter and your team knows React most, then instead of building on what you can maximize on, you start building on cool stuff, right? So when choosing blockchain, I would say first see what are your strengths. For example, if you come from C++ background, then coming from C++ background, maybe you'll have better hands on Rust than Solidity. Or if you're like JavaScript pro, maybe kind of you'll have easy understanding of Solidity. And then see, for example, now you've chosen that you want to build on Solidity. Then there's so many chains. See which chains you're most active in or where you can get maximum support from. Because it's not just like making a product successful, it's not just building it. Then you have to sell it, you have to market it. So can you get the right support from that team? Which team can you leverage or where can you maximize your connections and your strengths? Yeah,
I think that's a wonderful answer. So you need to see that where your strengths lie, and getting on board on Tezos is very simple, right? Because you just have to know Python and everybody knows that. Abhitej?
Yeah, I would say like taking part of like both panelists' answer is one, you have to see is where your niche lies, right? Where like the chain, as I said, right now we are in this niche space. Which chain caters to the best tooling, which gives you best infrastructure, which gives you best community of like developers. Like if you're as a dApp builder, you go into a community, where are the most sort of those sort of developers you can tap into. And that gives you this bootstrapping ability. The second approach is being the first one, early adopter into a chain. So you have to visualize in that concept is like, if you're building something for a long term, then in which chain should you go to be the first mover? So for example, MetaMask has solved this problem of like multiple chains or one wallet for all products in Ethereum. right? But there's so many other chains that don't have this option. As this is, I'm picking from my same answer is, how do you visualize of where do you go in terms of like where do you pick one module and build for there? So like for example, in Cosmos, Kepler did that job. And there are other chains now that want to do this, solve this problem. Where OpenSea did it for Ethereum and EVM chains, now you do it for NFTs across all chains. So where do you find this? Like you have to visualize what is my problem statement I'm trying to solve. And sometimes it's not always about your dream to say, okay, I want to build this, but it's kind of saying where the opportunity lies. So it's like opportunity versus cost equation you have to do. Your strengths you need to calculate. And if you tap into opportunity first, it's like what an entrepreneur's dream is. You solve and you grow it up. Or the other one is you want to be cost efficient and say, I'm already everything in terms of tooling exists here. I'm going to save cost and I want to build here. So you just have to see which metrics you fall in. Either you want to opt for an opportunity or you want to save cost. That would answer your which chain you want to build.
Wow, thank you. Sandeep?
Yeah, it's a basically product market fit problem in what your goals are as an entrepreneur, right? You have your short-term goals and your long-term goals. So, and then when you start looking at the area that you're working under, right, or in, for NFTs, you'll obviously look at Tezos. Has got some great tooling there. Everything's set, right? There's a great community there. A lot of traction. After Ethereum, it's the second best chain with activity when it comes to NFTs. But if you're looking at DeFi, you'll probably look at Polygon or Solana. These are the other options. Obviously, Ethereum is the best option right now, but obviously gas fees, all of that, right? So those are things that you, as an entrepreneur, you're going to look at, right? Where's my fit? What my short-term goals are? Where can I get traction? Where's the best tooling? So what's my least path of resistance so that I can get my product off the ground, right? From there on, you hope and pray, right? So you also start looking at, okay, if your long-term goal is bridging and moving to other chains, liquidity moving here, any cross-chain messaging that you have to do, then yes, that's another consideration that you start taking into your decision of which chain you have to be on. So it's essentially what the, where you're building and what you're building and where you have to get your traction and what's the least path of resistance. So again, right now it is pretty much defined because there are great communities around or great products and great, use cases for chains that have been defined by the market right now. So I think that's what people will choose for some time as long as we start seeing better bridges.
Yeah, I think in fact, everybody completely agrees with you here, Sandeep. So my last question, we're just like 5 minutes ahead of time, but this one is really important and I hope the audience wants to know. So what are the expectations overall from 2022? Maybe you can just share key takeaways from this discussion for this question. Yes.
I think so 2022 is going to be a lot about bridges, as we all have discussed. I'm personally looking forward to a lot about in terms of IBC and now Ethereum and Cosmos getting connected to Gravity Bridge, which is again a decentralized bridge. Wormhole is another great implementation, I think so. Every chain is trying to do it. Solana, Ethereum, Terra already connected. So bridges is one. Second thing I think so we're looking at is now teams are moving to more user experience driven applications rather than just creating easy on-ramp for users, easy nudges. So a lot of Web 2.0 elements coming in to Web 3. That is the second. And the last one is I would say how would you have one same user interface for multiple chains? So you just toggle between one. And I think so great inspiration for us at least at Persistence is Terra, where they have created that experience very seamless between two different chains. You use Mirror, either you're minting on Ethereum or you're minting on Terra, which is Cosmos-based chain. The end user does not know it. And similarly, what we are trying to do with our liquid staking solution at Peace Stake is it's going to be on Cosmos, Ethereum, Solana. The end user does not need to know, they can just mint it on any chain they want. And so that's, I think, so the three biggest factors for me in terms of 2022.
Yeah. So I'm excited about a lot of things in 2022, but primarily if I talk about the things that I'm super excited about. One is liquid staking, for sure. That's the problem that we are solving. Where in the early days of staking, what happened was that there were not many use cases for these tokens. So that was fine. Everyone just staking their token. But now, DeFi offering better yields, or so many other protocols offering better yields. A lot of people are unstaking their assets, which increases the attack vector on proof of stake. So liquid staking comes as a savior to proof of stake, and then being able to kind of build new money Legos. So that's one. Second, DAOs. We have seen that there's no DAO till now, which is kind of perfect. I mean, no governments are perfect, so DAOs are that's even difficult. But in the sense that we have seen a lot of DAOs have been trying to kind of learn from mistakes. I'm kind of yet to see something where it's fairly decentralized, but at the same time able to give decent autonomy to the team to keep building, not like kind of going to the community for like a $1 proposal. So we've seen like how it played out in sushi, kind of leading to fallout to some extent till now. I mean, it will definitely evolve. Then for how the whole Moki situation happened with Curve Finance. So I'm super excited about evolution of DAOs. And the third thing is tooling. That we have been already seeing like a lot of new tools evolving, for example, and on the side of audits like Slicer, Tenderly, then deployments Defender, for kind of the development hard hat. Like a lot more new cases are being, or a lot more tools are being built, which will make developers' life easy and like more easier. So those are three things that I'm super excited about.
So, I mean, both of them have already covered much what I had to say, but I want to focus on the user experience bit of it. If you look at the kind of products which are out there, for example, Compound, it's a very good product for people who are living in countries having low APRs on their bank accounts. But and there's a lot of TVL locked on Compound also, but how many addresses have provided liquidity on Compound? Really less. Same things are happening on most of the lending protocols on Ethereum, and then that was solved by lending protocols moving on to L2s, that more wallet addresses were there, smaller amount because the gas fees was really less. So for example, lending $100 on Compound on Ethereum would cost me more than $100, right? I won't ever be able to recover the entire money. And on Polygon, I would be able to do that. So that was solved by that. But again, reaching the end user is not possible. So for example, if I was living in, for example, Zimbabwe, and I was a citizen of that country, I would not be able to move on to Compound for better APRs on the bank account, or for example USDC or USDT. So more user-centric products needs to come to the market. I mean, I've seen such products coming 2 years before, like Herma Argent were there, really good user experience, but still really less user adoption. So I'm really excited about that bit, that the user adoption will increase on these kind of things, which actually are changing how people live, like real life examples here.
Yeah, so infrastructure and DAOs, I think these are going to be, when I talk about infrastructure, it's both bridges and tooling around moving assets, right? Be it fungible or non-fungible assets. So data problem is going to be, there is a data problem that will need to be solved, because if your bridges are being built, then obviously you will need to figure out how things are being moved. So that's another theme that will come up. So tooling around these in general is going to be probably the theme for 2022. So in 2022, most likely would be hugely infrastructure driven and tooling driven and DAO driven. DAO, again, I think it's a, right now what they say, right, democracy is that you get average results out of democracy, right? Average decisions. So we'll have to see. I think what Mohak said was right, is you need to fairly better autonomy and not go fully democratic. I mean, I don't know how we're going to solve it, but yeah, that's something that has to be thought about, right? And yeah, given all of this and given the maturity of the utility of all the products have reached in terms of utility, in terms of users, usability, obviously is a thing, because when you're doing cross-chain and you're moving stuff around chains, obviously the user experience can't be the way it is right now, right? So you need wallets that make it fairly agnostic for the user to move their stuff around.
Yeah, but I think regarding autonomy, I think we need to check with panel 1 about the regulations. Okay, so I'll open the floor for audience now.
Hello everybody. Hello Sandeep.
How are you?
I'm fine. My question is first for Abhitej. Since we are talking of bridge infrastructure, can you tell me the latest update on Ethermint? Because that was supposed to be a bridge project between Cosmos and Ethereum. That's number one. Just a minute. The second question anybody can take up. When we talk of infrastructure, we haven't talked even a bit about decentralized storage. And there are a number of projects. And no chain, Tezos, Ethereum, Persistence, or whatever, no chain is actually sharing insights about how the future of decentralized storage would emerge. So, will that be multi-chain or something else would happen like that? So, first question for Abhitej, and the second anybody can.
For second, I think so we need our Kana team here. But I think so the first question is, and Ethermint was supposed to be more of like an environment to bring Ethereum tooling to Cosmos. It was not supposed to be the bridge. The bridge was supposed to be Gravity Bridge. They would launch their chain last week itself, so you can go out and check out. Gravity Bridge is already live. They would enable the transfers between Ethereum and Cosmos in a decentralized and non-custodial manner. I think so Q1 2022. So Ethereum and Cosmos are connecting very soon. Even like at least at Persistence, we have already enabled Persistence and Ethereum bridging, which is P-Bridge. But we're gonna see multiple other bridges come. XLR is another example, which has enabled Cosmos and Ethereum cross-chain. And XLR is doing actually for multiple chains. So that's a quick update on the side. Ethermint is named to Evmos for that matter. And they have launched their EVM on like multi-chain EVM, I would say. And basically is an EVM, but will be connected through IBC with all Cosmos chains. So you would be able to see that. So it's like, I think it would be the first multi-chain EVM to say, even that sounds confusing. But I think so Evmos is doing very exciting things with Celestia and other things. So
AVMOS?
EVMOS, you should check it. That's the new name for Ethermint. Gravity Bridge is live. That's a quick update. I don't think I'll let anyone else.
So yeah, I mean, I'd like to just add one thing to the storage part. So see, I mean, from what I'm seeing that decentralized storage is being used really less compared to the assets which are being stored on the blockchain, and that is why the traction is less from a multi-chain perspective going over there. So I've not seen any project working on a multi-chain decentralized storage. Have you?
Actually, there are a couple of projects that are trying to put out storage. IO is also trying to go multi-chain. But what I think so is the problem that we have faced so far is, and in terms of storage, is how there is no standardization of metadata, right? So the problem is not truly like creating infrastructure for decentralized storage. The problem is standardization of what needs to be stored. What is stored on Ethereum is very different from what is stored on Solana, for example, or other chains. So that's where I think so the problem is. Some of those problems, at least at Persistence, and we have been trying to solve with inter-NFT, at least like if storage is going to be the major concern for NFTs. So what we have built is something called inter-NFT module or an inter-NFT standard, which actually allows to accommodate all different NFT standards, whether it's ERC 721, BEP 721. So it's what we call as an elastic standard. That is when you move an NFT from one chain to another chain, the metadata is being moved across, like it's elastic. So one standard can accommodate all. So I think so before decentralized storage, we need this standardization in terms of what needs to be stored. And that remains agnostic on all chains. Right? So that has to be defined. Somebody is using a DID structure. Somebody is using a different storage structure. So that's the complication. before we do, the argument has to be how are we going about standardization. And to just add on here, ERC 721 on all dApps is not the same. Everyone uses a different adaptation of ERC 721 itself. And that's why you cannot go out and just randomly put any ERC 721 standard on OpenSea. It has to match the OpenSea registry. And those are even challenges within Ethereum, and let alone like decentralized storage for multi-chain.
Yeah, I mean, since we are working on this exact problem of metadata with reference protocol, it's a massive problem when it comes to how data is being stored. I mean, both on-chain, the way they are storing, obviously, like you were saying, there is no standard. You can adopt. Today you want to store this much as a marketplace. You want to make the storage fee lesser. Store little on-chain and store stuff on IPFS, right? On-chain metadata is very little. You're storing very little on-chain then. You're just storing token ID and then the fungibility of the non-fungible tokens. What I mean is how many additions are there. And each points to the same metadata. How is that non-fungibility, right? So there are a bunch of implementation problems itself right now, right? So decentralized storage is the next step. Like saying first we need to solve this bit.
And on that, I open the floor for everyone. Anyone who wants on this problem, it's not that we want to take any credit. Internet NFT is an open source. If you have a proposition, please do to come to us. We would love to work with anyone who wants to solve this problem. And very open. We are already working with Polkadot, Cosmos, Keep Network, multiple validators. So just want to make this a very collective effort. So anyone has any sort of an idea, we do these community calls, you can join out. You can reach out to me after this session if you want to be part of this initiative.
Guys, great panel. So, you guys brought up DAOs a lot, and I think as a policy person, that's the one thing you absolutely get very excited about blockchain. So, do you guys have thoughts on what you see as good models or innovative governance models coming out of DAOs? Like, what do you think are the best ones you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think personally I really like Polkadot governance in the sense that where instead of community voting on proposals, community voting on a rolling council, delegating their part of that council, that this is the council who have better understanding than me regarding every proposal's kind of insights, and then taking the best possible decision there, and then having a rolling council prevents the council to be like corrupted. So I kind of really like that, but again, it's not perfect. There's still a lot of kind of explorations being done on DAOs.
I think that's a model that I would agree with for the situation that we are in now, right? I mean, a lot of things have to be still solved around what kind of control do you still hand over? I mean, do you hand over the entire thing, the code and the keys, or do you still, maintain some autonomy within the team and have like a rolling council, right? So I think this is Polkadot has done a fairly decent job in terms of, having the very fact that the products getting built and still a fair amount of decentralization there in terms of decision making, I think is proof enough that it's working.
I want to add one thing to this. So while we are thinking of safer DAO and trying to evolve it, one thing we realize that, for example, in Uniswap or Compound, any kind of DAOs which are out there, it highly depends on the number of tokens individual has and they are going over there. But those individuals might not have the right knowledge of the thing you are building, the entire ecosystem, right? So for example, Compound, I don't know about Compound, but hold the majority of Compound tokens, and I can vote for a proposal. So I think it would make sense for a DAO to have those metrics in place, where you can also understand exactly what kind of knowledge a voter has when they are voting on a proposal. So that is what we are thinking about right now, and trying to come up with a solution for it, that how exactly we should structure the safer DAO. So yeah.
There's a very interesting point Apoorv brought up, and this is like sort of a research that we're doing, and for understanding. So how do you have interactions on blockchain is based off how much stake you have, right? Especially in DAO, right? How many tokens you hold. But now the problem comes in is there could be a market acquisition of those tokens, and you can go out and like sort of disrupt how DAO works. So there is a concept that we're working on is that interaction-based and participation-based tokens should be different. There is a non-transferable token that is given for interaction and participation in the DAO. And how much of like accessibility you have the DAO is based on the tokens itself. Like you can acquire tokens, you can be, so that's your access into a DAO, right? So a lot of DAOs now are working on rather saying creating like fungible tokens that you hold 100 token DAO tokens, you have just one NFT. And that one NFT's cost keeps on growing as the DAO's value grows. So you just hold one NFT to be participant in the DAO. But everything else is based on how you're participating, right? The quality of participation, you're getting like a credit system, a karma point. This karma point defines your, and like brings a lot of value from Polkadot. We're saying some people know they're a council that are better in terms of like making governance. They're better in terms of like saying what needs to be done. The other, like the adaptation of this model is DAOs of DAO, right? Now saying, one community voting on all DAO proposals is significantly like a collapse of judgment at a certain level because a marketing guy would not know what tech is and a tech guy might not know what marketing is. So what you would have is fragmented DAOs. There would be a centralized like council which would have multiple DAOs. There would be a marketing DAO, for example, support DAO. There would be a like feature DAO or like a tech DAO. Now each of those have like sort of like a delegation from the core DAO, which now operates on multiple sort of like key functions only. So marketing judgments or decisions come to the marketing DAO. As an interest, now all will be attracted more. If I'm a marketing guy, I would be attracted to marketing DAO rather than making decisions on tech DAO.
But I guess I'll just speak up. See, my question came because this financialization of voting, right, is very against democracy. So
that's what I'm saying, right? So,
no, I get your point. So that's very similar. That's very similar to the way governments are organized, right? I get an issue on the military, it goes to defense ministry. If I get something on finance, it goes to one ministry. But the idea of democracy is almost like universal basic income, right? Everybody has one vote. Everybody has one equal representation, right? So when you link it to expertise or you link it to stake or whatever, it still distorts the democracy, right? So I think like why I'm bringing this up is because in policy we still struggle with this in terms of like what's the right optimum working of a democracy. So it's very interesting to see the models that are then out. Like
yes, so it's also like now you're getting this credit system, right? You contribute. It's not like it limits me to marketing down.
No, but I'm contributing and I'm getting it. And then if you bring it to the real world, for example, there are people who are not contributing as much to the economy, but they have disadvantages. Like, and the same way if you bring it in blockchain, for example, if I don't have the technical skills or I don't have something, like I matter less to your system than someone else, right? Like, I have to bring a skill. I have to bring some value, right?
No, I don't think so. It's like a value proposition here in terms of government is different as where government proposes these things are needed, right? Or these things we are working on. Whereas in DAOs, the community brings those problems and you can put a governance model on the common DAO that this can be done. So I can visualize anything. There's think of this, what DAO's initial concept is, I think so is not from the government's perspective. They think as a company, right? Now company starts building, a team is building, right? DAOs like really right now are strapping in terms of companies. There is a team which is very good at tech. Now they're building tech, but their marketing is not that great. Their narrative is not that great. Any community member sees that and it's actually a DAO, they can go out and put a proposal that you need to do this, right? And if there are community members, they can adopt that as like saying, okay, we are creating a marketing DAO, for example. And then that attribution can be done. But somebody says, something else needs to be done. They can propose it and it can be added. So it's not that I specifically need something to be part of something. If I have an idea and that can be implemented, done be that. And it can be very controversial. But I think so in democracies, the concept fails is where person who votes and person who does not vote get the same credit. I don't think that should be safe. If you really want to make a change, it's like, I think so very fundamental level saying who should get the advantage. If I cannot take the pain to contribute, how do I entitle myself to the same rights, right? So everyone should vote to actually extract out value. So same as here. You are actually breaking the flaws that democracy has with DAO, saying, if you contribute, then is when you are entitled to say whatever advantages DAO brings.
Yeah, I think the best DAO will probably not follow the systems that we have in the real world right now. So I think we'll probably make a lot more changes to how we function right now. If you look at democracy, we know the problems. Centuries, we know the problems, or the benefits and the problems, right? So it'll probably be a version or a very different version of it with the different voting mechanisms.
I just wanted to have one last question.
Is there a equivalent of ERC 1155 NFT in Cosmos as well?
I think so. In Cosmos, the NFT structure works very different. And basically, it's what you are doing is, like, at least I can speak from what we have created, right? Asset Mantle. It basically does not, so ERC 721 is like just limited, as I said, there are limitations to it, and that's why you need subsidiary NFTs to it. But in Cosmos, the ability is that each chain can be a sovereign chain and create its own economics. So you basically, rather than saying each chain can have a very different attribution of like different sort of, like there could exist like 20 different sorts of NFTs on 20 different sort of applications, but you can standardize what those NFTs share and then they can walk across, right? So I would not say we're replicating the same sort of say ERC 1155 model or ERC 721. What we are doing is bringing out the best of these NFTs have to offer and creating an elastic standard which accommodates all these standards, right? So which we are not limited. If somebody follows ERC 1155, for example, is only limited to that standard. Somebody is following ERC 721 is only limited to that standard. Whereas I give you a standard that can follow BEP 721, ERC 721, ERC 1155 features, and say Solana's NFT or Tezos NFT structure. What you have is like a package. Use that and build a utility that would have multifaceted functionality, so multi-functionality function. And that you need to share like one standard, like that could be token ID, that could be DID, that sort of like different what identification model you are using or inter-identity you are using. That can allow you to transfer that token through IBC, right? Multiple chains.
Yes.
So yeah.
So you are enhancing a bit.
So essentially, and I think so. Asset Mantle team is here. They would be the best people to answer this in detail, But I'm saying, what generally I would say is, standardization should not be, again, fragmented into different standards. It's like, at least across different standards, we should also have an identification of how they interact. It's the same way HTTP and SMTP today can interact between each other, right? And that allows, the gala of internet we have. The functionalities that can operate across these things. You can use your Gmail to actually log into an website that is built on HTTP. So you're basically increasing accessibility. Same way is interaction of different standards is the key requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We had a great discussion and I know that the questions will never end. Right, we'll never be tired of hearing you experts, right? So we're gonna do a lot of meetups, by the way, this year, 2022, if Omicron doesn't come. All right. So thank you so much, Abhitej, Mohak, Apoorv, Sandeep. Woo! Let's hear it for the panel. Thank you so much. Amazing discussion.